Retirees in Argentina mobilized in front of the National Congress to express their disapproval of the neoliberal policies implemented by Javier Milei's administration. In Venezuela, Revolutionary Forces attend the swearing-in of governors elected for the 2025-2029 term. Zionist occupation forces, together with Israeli settlers, carried out nearly 1,700 attacks during the last month in the occupied West Bank. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Argentina's National Assembly approved a resolution that benefits the country's retirees and the labor sector in spite of budget cuts by President Javier Milei. On Wednesday, deputies debated a reform to improve the conditions of the working sector and the health crisis. However, the government warned that it will veto the excuse that there is not enough funding to face the country's decay. Earlier today, while Congress was discussing its decision, retirees in Argentina mobilized in front of the National Congress to express their disapproval of the neoliberal policies implemented by the administration of Javier Milei, who seeks to criminalize protest in the country. Under police tension, hundreds of pensioners gathered in front of the Congress to demand an increase in pensions, supplementary bonuses, and a price adjustment for medicines. Also on Wednesday, and 10 years after the historic day that marked the beginning of a feminist wave in Latin America, the movement called Ni Una Menos mobilized with retirees Wednesday in front of Congress to protest Javier Milei's adjustment policies. The movement also urged the government to adopt policies against gender-based violence, the persecution of workers in soup kitchens and migrant women. Social organizations and trade unions also joined the demonstrations. In Venezuela, Revolutionary Forces attend the swearing-in of governors elected for the 2025-2029 term. The inauguration ceremonies continued on Wednesday in the state of Monagas, Trujillo and Miranda. Moreover, Lola Tamaronis took office as the third woman to head the state of Delta Amacuro in the company of Warao indigenous peoples. In this context, the governors emphasized their commitment to work together with the people to promote development and progress in their localities. On the other hand, President Nicolás Maduro reiterated the call for the municipal elections scheduled for next July 27th, announced by the country's National Electoral Council.
The National Electoral Council has called for elections for the mayor's offices and municipal councils on July 27th. As you like elections, so get ready. We have to win the four mayor's offices by a landslide in the Delta Amacuro. At national level, we are already active. I spoke with the National Electoral Commission, presided by Captain Diosdado Cabello, and, by Friday, they should be publishing all the electoral regulations for the nomination and election of candidates to the 335 mayor's offices of the country and to the 335 municipal councils.
In Venezuela, Revolutionary Forces celebrate the swearing-in of the re-elected governor of the eastern state of Monagas, Ernesto Luna. Supported by the Secretary General of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, the governor of the state reaffirmed the fulfillment of tasks to deepen the construction of a prosperous state. He also expressed his vision of turning Monagas into a model state with opportunities and economic growth. Likewise, Luna ratified his political idea to continue materializing the social achievements for the benefit of all the sectors.
I swear before our people, before God, before my mother, my family, my wife, before all of you, to continue serving our people. To continue serving, to build nothing more and nothing less than the most prosperous and beautiful monagas, and that together we are building. That is why today is not only a swearing-in ceremony, it is an act of commitment that we unite in our soul, in the depths of our being, in every territory, to continue to work in all territories, in every street, in every school, in every village, in every urbanism, in every sector, visiting our people, listening to our people, to undertake the task that our eternal commander, Hugo Chavez, has entrusted to us, and that our president, Nicolas Maduro Moros, has demanded of us, which is to work together with the people, hand in hand with the people, together with the organized communities, together with the popular sectors, together with the different social sectors of the social, economic and political life of the state.
The Secretary General of the PSUV, Diosdado Cabello, highlighted the effort to win in Monagas under clear lines and rules of work for the benefit of the people.
We have moved forward, and we must say it on our own. The government and the people of Venezuela pushing that ship Ernesto called Venezuela to move forward, working with our effort, producing under a line of clear rules of work and of all. And Monagas is fundamental. What doesn't Monagas have? In addition to all the natural wealth, it has an extraordinary people who work, who do not rest, who fight. It has a formidable women's movement, who are in the streets every day, and you, as governor, must add up. That 3–4% that did not vote come here, let's invite them. We have the arguments to talk to them, we are not going to fool them, we are going to talk to them clearly, and we have the means to prove it.
And now we have a short break coming up. Professor, remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum labeled as unfair the rise of steel and aluminum tariffs from 25% to 50%. Sheinbaum highlighted to continue fighting for an agreement with U.S. President Donald Trump in view of the levies. The head of state assured that if a deal was not reached, her government would announce measures to protect Mexico's steel and aluminum industry and employment. In this sense, the leader advanced that she would hold a meeting with the steel and aluminum chambers at the National Palace to make the necessary decisions regarding this issue. Recent measures by Cuba's telecommunications company ETEXA have sparked social debate in Cuba. Our correspondent Fabiola Lopez tells us what the public thinks.
En las últimas horas en Cuba no se habla de otra cosa.
In the last days in Cuba, everyone is talking about the same thing. The topic is on the streets and on social media. Cuban telecommunications company ETEXA is increasing internet access rates to prices that, for many, are far from the reality of their salaries. The measure is causing dissatisfaction and is being described as unpopular. Many agree that the decision was not adequately explained and that communication failed.
The people were not informed in advance. Look, we are going to take this measure because there are problems with the company. We need investments. In other words, to have an open discussion, but this never happened. The public opinion was bad. I feel disappointed because it affects me and it affects everyone.
I believe that aside from the fact that the measure is unpopular due to its content, it was very poorly communicated.
It is true that it affects the research for our school projects, but we must understand the need the country had to take this measure. It was not taken lightly or arbitrarily. It was done out of a need for foreign currency.
Cyberspace is on fire and social media are extremely active. Many are warning of the political cost of the measure, while others argue that the internet on the island is on the verge of collapse and that the next headline may not be about a new raid, but rather a nationwide service outage. Authorities insist that there is a real emergency, as the blockade is brutal and the situation is extremely critical due to the lack of foreign currency.
We are facing debts today that we cannot pay, which means that we cannot import more technology, that we cannot import supplies, that we cannot import these things that we must buy abroad, the things that serve us, that we need in order to continue, not to develop and grow, but to maintain the services we currently have.
Memes and fake news are running wild. Bad faith and opportunism arise. Some try to advance their anti-government and counter-revolutionary agenda under the pretext of new internet raids. However, the University Student Federation takes a stand against those who seek to undermine the country's stability. Executives from ATEXA, together with the party and the government, are engaging in constructive dialogue with the students to find solutions.
I was talking about how irresponsible it is in the complex situation we are experiencing to incite violence, disorder, disobedience, and chaos. Because first of all, in Cuba, which is imperfect but improvable, we have an institutional structure that is not the result of the will of the government, but rather the result of a tradition of popular participation that goes back more than 60 years of revolution built with the people, and that tradition provides the space for dialogue. There were calls to rallies and sit-ins on the university steps, calls that have not come from the University Student Federation.
For Professor Ernesto Teuma, the increase in fees, which many consider disproportionate, has resulted in a conflict that does not necessarily have to be seen as negative.
It is an adjustment in the midst of the consumption crisis, the responsibilities of public companies, a conflict in which students and other organizations have played a leading role, which would be from a civic perspective above all for access and guarantee of certain rights. However, it has been quickly exploited by agendas that seek to turn these conflicts into irreconcilable hostilities.
Through his X account, President Miguel Díaz-Canel insists that the revolutionary government is working to provide well-being to the people in the midst of the most criminal siege, and explains that options are being sought out for the most vulnerable sectors. Many say that what is at stake here is not internet access fees, but the credibility of a project that the vast majority is still willing to defend.
Fabiola López, teleSUR, La Habana.
The Directorate General of Migration of the Dominican Republic reported that more than 34,000 Haitians were deported in May following an explicit resolution of the Council of Defense and National Security and the measures of President Luis Abinader. The migration agency reported that the deported individuals were in the country illegally and warned that May saw the highest number of deportations in 2025. This increase in migration enforcement has been supported by the Army, Navy, Air Force, National Police and Public Ministry. The government justifies the larger-scale detention of Haitians fleeing violence on the grounds of that it would cause problems for the security and stability of the Dominican population. During its second day, the 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum taking place in Brazil advocates multilateral cooperation and a balanced and fair world order. Wednesday's session, chaired by the Brazilian Senate's Foreign Relations Committee, reiterated the importance of establishing an open and non-discriminatory multilateral trading system with a new World Trade Organization at its core. The aim is to promote inclusive economic growth and sustainable development in environmental, economic and social sectors. This is in response to the challenges and geopolitical tensions caused by unilateral protectionist measures that generate global crises. And we have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, we'll be right back. Welcome back to From the South. Zionist occupation forces, together with Israeli settlers, carried out nearly 1,700 attacks during the last month in the occupied West Bank. The Colonization and World Resistance Commission reported that the Israeli army carried out 1,276 attacks, while settlers carried out 415 assaults during the month of May. The Palestinian Authority condemned the increase in Israeli violence against the Palestinian people, highlighting the demolition of buildings and the confiscation of property where Zionist troops set up their military bases, as well as physical aggression, vandalism, and the murder of civilians. The organization stated that Israeli actions represent a clear policy of apartheid, which aims to carry out ethnic cleansing in the West Bank. In Palestine, the Israeli army relocated its troops to northern parts of the Gaza Strip after months of bombardment on the coastal enclave. Sources detail that the occupation army has not yet announced its complete withdrawal from these areas, as its military vehicles are still stationed and gunfire and explosions can be heard, particularly around the Indonesian hospital and Al-Auda hospital to the north. Local residents began returning to what remains of their homes to check them and search through the rubble. They also noted that the random return of Palestinians coincides with the ongoing artillery shelling and airstrikes, which have caused more casualties. Lebanese authorities and civilians denounced Wednesday the overflight of Israeli drones over the capital city of Beirut. According to Lebanese authorities, Israel has repeatedly violated the ceasefire agreement signed in November 2024 and pointed out that the Zionist actions are contrary to international humanitarian law. They also accused the Israeli forces of continuing their attacks on civilian targets in the south of the country and of killing dozens of people. The crew of a ship belonging to the Gaza Freedom Flotilla warned Wednesday the presence of unidentified drones flying over it in the Mediterranean Sea. The 12 crew members of the ship Madeleine denounced that Israeli drones were threatening them 80 kilometers off the Greek coast, an action they describe as an intimidation tactic in response to the ships bringing supplies to the Palestinian people. The flotilla seeks to deliver food and medical supplies to the Gazan population in the midst of the blockade of the Zionist forces against humanitarian aid to the Palestinian population. Russian President Vladimir Putin has stated that Ukrainian attacks on Russian civilians describe Ukrainian attacks on Russian railway bridges as terrorist acts. He claimed that the Kyiv regime is gradually becoming a terrorist organization and that its sponsors are complicit. Putin questioned the possibility of holding a meeting with Ukraine or declaring a ceasefire amid ongoing attacks on civilians.
Everywhere and always during armed conflicts, extremely unfortunately, civilians suffer. But what happened in Bryansk and in Kursk region was a deliberate attack on civilians. According to all international norms, such actions are called terrorism. At the same time, Ukraine calls to suspend hostilities for 30 to 60 days. There are calls for a summit meeting. But how can such meetings be held under these conditions? What is there to talk about? Who negotiates with those who rely on terror, with terrorists?
A stampede outside a cricket stadium in the southern India state of Karnataka has left several people dead and many injured. The incident took place on Wednesday when thousands of fans gathered outside the Swami Stadium in the state capital Bengaluru to celebrate the home team's first victory in the Indian Premier League, attempted to enter the venue from various gates. Authorities stated the crowd was uncontrollably, while police at the scene tried to transport the injured to ambulances but were unable to move quickly due to the overcrowding on roads. Local news have reported at least 11 deaths and 33 injured. In this context, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the tragic incident, calling it absolutely heart-rending and offering condolences to the victims' relatives. Newly elected South Korean President Lee Jae-myung took office on Wednesday, a day after winning the snap election with 49.42% of the nearly 35 million votes cast. During his inauguration ceremony held at Rotunda Hall in the National Assembly in Seoul, Lee vowed to rebuild the nation from what he called the brink of collapse following a failed martial law attempt. The head of state faces a daunting set of challenges ranging from healing a country scattered by his predecessor's move to tackling protectionist actions by the United States. In addition, in this context, Lee has expressed more conciliatory plans for ties with China and North Korea, singling out the importance of Beijing as a major trading partner and vowing to reopen dialogue with Pyongyang. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.